I've not put the intros on. Hello and welcome to the latest from Hearts Standard. My name is Joe Sked and I have forgot to put the intro onto this. A real schoolboy error. I am joined by Craig Cairns. How's it going, Craig?
Very well. How are you doing, Joe?
Yeah, just it's a press conference day, so busy. So that's why we are 8 minutes late getting going, just because there's stuff going out at 5:30, which we're going to talk about. We'll still probably be talking about stuff then, so I can talk about, and had to get that ready. So it's been a wee bit of a rush, and I've forgotten to put the intros on as well. But
8 minutes is fine for us, actually. And that's also about your average injury time these days.
Yeah, I just thought we've been getting better at being a bit more on the out, but a bit less tardy and trying to be a bit more professional and turning up when we say we turn up. But it's every now and then it's going to happen. We are going to discuss the squad. So we are on the eve, not the eve, but very close to the start of the Scottish Premiership season. And with that, I've reevaluated the squad assessment I did at the start of the summer, and that's going to go out either tonight or tomorrow or over the weekend, just because there's a lot of things up in the air just now with around Hearts and potential new additions. So with that, with the potential new additions of Pierre Landry Kabori and Thomas Bent Magnuson, it would take the squad up to 32. So what Craig and I are going to do is go kind of position by position. Well, goalkeeper, fullbacks, centre-backs, midfielders, wingers, and forwards/strikers, and just to assess where Hearts are at the moment, where we're looking good, where maybe work needs to be done, and obviously players who will, or players in certain areas that will move on. We're going to try and keep it tight with each position, so we're not blathering for ages. But before we get straight into it, if it's time to hand in your transfer request, then head over to s1jobs.com and upload your CV today. With thousands of jobs across Edinburgh and the surrounding area, you'll find the one at S1 Jobs. Start your search today. You don't actually hear too much about players handing in a transfer request anymore, but that is for another time. Craig, you will probably be on charge of comments, just favouring. I can go and have a look at them. We've got loads of graphics that we can bring up, but the first one, the most meaningful one, I think, is this one. This is, we'll get rid of that. I'll get rid of that staffed logo. There we go. Cool. So there is the squad looking as it is. Well, I was going to say as it is just now, but as it is with Kabori and Magnuson added to it. Hearts, it's hoped over the next few days that both will sign, as has been reported. I think I've got all the contracts right. There might be one wrong in there, but we'll see if that's the case. With Kabori, I've seen Thomas, why is unveiling of Landry Kabori taking so long? He's been here for weeks. I can answer that in 19 minutes when the embargo's lifted on it. But we'll just chat about the squad just now. So there we go. There it is. There's the 32-man squad. Harry Stone's in there. The goalkeepers. It's big. It's a lot of depth. There's a lot of quality in there as well. So what we're going to do is going to go through position to position. Craig, you've got team graphics lined up from games that's taken place. So just bring in them whenever you need to make a point or to discuss them. But firstly, the goalkeeping situation. So normally that would look like a healthy goalkeeping situation, but it's not quite as straightforward as that.
No, it's not. It's more like a wait and see what happens. I think I don't know if to prove his fitness is the right way to word it, but I think with Zander Clark finishing last season injured and then starting this season with a unrelated injury, it would be nice to know for certain that he's going to be sort of injury-free in the established, or for at least for there to be an established number one. And in the absence of Craig Gordon, the continued absence of Craig Gordon at the moment, still a wee bit away, it falls on Zander Clark. And if he isn't going to be fully fit at any point, McInnes has already hinted at it himself, but they will move in the market to get another goalkeeper if they need to, if needs must. So I think at the moment it looks okay. If everybody continues on their journey, Hearts are okay. But Gordon has a setback. Clark goes out injured, could see some movement there.
Yeah, it's not I definitely wouldn't say it's a priority, but it's definitely one, like you said, that you need to keep an eye on and see how things progress. I think if the ideal was to have 3 first-team goalkeepers, because for the exact reason we saw at the end of last season, where Ryan Fulton's had to come in and play as the number one, and did so well to a good standard. Harry Stone, I think they would like to get him out on loan, but they can't do that while Craig Gordon's injured. And Craig Gordon spoke after the game against Sunderland, where he's like, he's not going to be back immediately, that's for sure. So it's a wee bit. I think it's just going to be a wee bit of wait and see. I wouldn't rule out. I wouldn't be surprised if Hearts signed a goalkeeper. I wouldn't be surprised, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they feel confident that Zander Clark's fine, Ryan Fulton's back fine, and then Gordon's making good progress. Then I think they'll kind of stand pat and re-evaluate it in January or re-evaluate it at the end of the summer. So provided everyone's fit, it's not an area of the team that needs to worked on right now, but it's one that we'll see looking like going forward. We'll be keeping an eye on. Craig, you got an interview with Liam McFarlane going out on Saturday. He is contracted. I think he's contracted to 2026. I think he's got
it is. It's next summer. I was just about to bring that comment in. Thanks for that. Yeah, it's next summer, but it's something that I imagine Hearts will rectify possibly in the near future, because he is fairly highly rated, and he looks like he's made a decent start at Alloa. They won all 4 of their games in the League Cup group stage. A group containing Airdrie and Dundee, so Premiership and Championship opposition, and he played all 4 matches, and the manager's a big fan of him. So he was highly sought after. There was full-time clubs looking at him, but Hearts wanted a part-time deal so that he could still retain some time at Rickerton. And as you said, there's an interview going out where I spoke to both him and his manager Andy Graham about his loan deal.
Yeah, and just on Craig, he just says, I feel just feel bad for the 2 young goalkeepers, Stone and McFarlane, just constant loans and never get a chance. I mean, it's difficult when you've got 2 Scottish international goalkeepers ahead of them, but it does seem
and you don't want to throw somebody in before they're ready as well. Yeah. There has to be a point. I mean, I know Craig Gordon did. There's maybe some exceptional cases, and I don't think Hearts had a great goalkeeping situation at that point, if I remember correctly. Was it Peter Enkelman was the other goalkeeper?
No, Tepe Moylan.
Tepe Moylan, sorry, I wasn't too far away. So yeah, you don't. I couldn't say exactly how far away Liam McFarlane is from being a first-team Hearts goalkeeper, or whether he would come in and do a good job or not. I can't say I know enough, but I'd imagine that part of it's just not chucking in a young goalkeeper for the sake of it.
Yeah, again, it's not something that needs to be rushed, and they have to earn it. The good thing is with McFarlane, he's been making steady progress with his loans, and already he's off to a good start. And like you said, he is highly rated. We'll move on to the fullbacks. So left back, we've got Harry Milne and Stephen Kingsley, and then on the right we've got Christian Borgravink and Adam Forrester. I was going to say Harry Forrester, but it's definitely not a
callback.
Yeah. So I think there's 2 players in each position, but I would say that the left back situation is a lot more solid than the right back situation.
Yes, which is strange given that the best left back at the club has been sold, and they've brought in a player to address the right back situation. I mean, hopefully things will settle. Hopefully Borgravink does get an injury-free run and becomes a player that we think he can become. But yeah, you're totally right. There's a lot to be excited about on the other side with Harry Milne, and not just that, but Stephen Kingsley again. If he can stay injury-free, there's been a lot of fitness issues for him in recent times. He was looking good in the League Cup group stages as well, and that shows you that there's a good depth there. Should it be needed? But yes, as always seems to be the case, right back is an issue for Hearts. Not like a glaring Stark issue. I think the rest of the team look solid enough that if one position's not quite sorted yet, that I would still expect Hearts to go out and put in a strong performance. But yes, it's interesting how it always seems to be the right back.
Yeah. So like left back, I know there was an assumption that when Penrice was sold that a left back would come in, but I think that it was always a plan. There was always a plan that Harry Milne would get the runway to make left back his own, and I think that's very much the case with what he's done over the Premier Sports Cup. That he has really shown himself to be capable at left back, and I think there's a nice balance here with the two left backs, and there's sufficient depth there, especially with like Milne's able to play left wing back and left back as well. On the right hand side, Borchgrevink, is you're just hoping that he will get a run of games, build up his fitness, be solid, and then there's a good right back. The issue with Harry Forrester and Harry Forrester, Jesus, Adam Forrester is I know there's been a lot of speculation around his potential move to St Johnstone. That's not something I have heard beyond the speculation and rumours. That I think there is going to be stuff happening in the background, and there's going to be conversations with Forrester. I do think that he is probably best, if he's not going to get regular game time at Hearts, best going out on loan to continue his development. And that is an area, right back is where I think probably with that happening is the area where there's not, I don't think there's any priority within
you've got McEntee as well if you really need to. And
just reluctant to do that.
They are, yes, but just if needed, if really needed. And just to add to that, when he plays a back three, like he did against Hamilton here, sometimes you end up with somebody like Alan Forrest, although maybe it would be more like somebody like Kizaridis now. This is before Kizaridis had made his debut. Or maybe like somebody like Kurjota on the other side or something like that, with Milne as a left wing back on the other side. So, and then that gives him the chance to play the three central defenders, as we'll come to. That's where there's a lot of depth. So even though we're talking about right back, there maybe not a lot of depth there. There's ways around it by changing shape, and we know he does like to play a back three sometimes.
Because it's an interesting, what I would say is a difficult balancing act, because if the club feel that there is a lot of merit in Adam Forrester, mind they gave him a 3-year deal, then they don't want to sign another player who then goes in front of him and stops that pathway. And it's very much dependent on how they view Forrester. So it's a balancing act where he could probably do if he's developed, going out and playing regular football, and then but also still having that kind of like base with Hearts where there's an opportunity for him further down the line. But I do think if you were to ask me which position Hearts would most likely make their 10th signing in between now and the end of the transfer window, I would probably at the moment lean towards right back without knowing anything for certain.
Just before we move on from the fullback, so bring in a couple of comments. Craig again is saying, I like Milne more than Penrice. Call me mental. I mean, I don't think we were saying recently that this could very well be the scenario if he continues the way he's going. So we're certainly not going to call you that. Not entirely sure about the values here, but I do agree with the point. Milne's 7 out of 10 defensively and going forward, whereas Penrice was 8 out of 10 go forward and 5 defensively. I do, like I say, I don't know about the exact values there, but I do think you get maybe a bit more defensively from Milne, and you still get that attacking threat. We've got here from the Gorgie Boys podcast, quite a few of these things, i.e. with Kingsley, always come with that if he can stay fit. Yes. This is an interesting one. Forrester, Alan Gibson says Forrester should be given time, used as backup. I don't necessarily disagree. I think if he hung around, I think he would get quite a lot of game time. The decision for Hearts is what's best for him and his development. Is it better that he does that? Is he going to develop more from doing that, or is he going to develop more from going out on loan to St Johnstone? Just to pick the example that's kicking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something comes back to is that one thing I don't like, and I'm not preaching here because I've done it before, and I still do it in my head, and then have to check myself and remind myself. But we're so easy to it's so easy, and this is just Hearts fans. This is football fans worldwide. So easy to kind of like write players off. And the best example is Forrest is a really good example of the wanting young players to come up last season, and then when he did come up and he struggled, then everyone's saying he's not good enough and has to be moved on or taken out of the team. And then on the flip is Lauren Shankland. It was like, this guy scored so many goals for us over the last few seasons, and then as soon as he looks off it, or there's a view that he's mentally checked out, it's like,
goes to a Rangers game.
Yeah, like get rid of him. It's just like, let's give players a wee bit of leeway. Let's give them a bit more time. Let's try and be patient and let them kind of ride out or get through tough times, and not just assume that because they have had a tough time that automatically means that they're rubbish. So yeah, it's a difficult one. I do find the Forrester one it's a difficult balanced act. And I talked about bringing a right back in, and Graham Smith makes a really good point. Steinbender to play right back. He looked comfortable there against Sunderland. Again, that's if you're wanting to utilise the whole squad that's there, certainly something that could happen, which is another consideration if they don't want to go out and bring someone else in. You mentioned the centre backs, Craig, and the depth there. I think this can be a very short discussion. The centre backs, I think, is a very strong position for Hearts, and nothing needs to be. There's just in terms of squad assessment, the only thing that's kind of changed is that there was certainly a lot of chat about potentially Kingsley and Halkett's future. Now you've got two guys who've done well in pre-season, just the way things have worked out, and you're looking. They have played themselves back at the team, or just they're viewed as being back as part of the squad, and it looks really good. I really like the centre back options, and it gives you especially with Stuart Findlay, that flexibility to play a back three or a back four.
And if he wants to, if he's going to play a back three semi-regularly at the least, then 5 quality central defenders isn't really excess. Especially if you look right now, McCart, fairly lengthy injury, going to take a wee while to get back up to speed when he does come back. So, and we've known Halkett, although Halkett looks like a different animal this season. Not too dissimilar to what you were talking about with James. When you spoke about James Penrice, I think there's kind of hints with him looking after himself a bit more. He said something about. I'm paraphrasing, but Halkett said something recently in interviews about feeling sorry for himself, and then like his diet going by the wayside a bit and things like that. So hopefully that means that comes with that fewer injury concerns. But yes, I don't think it's excess. I think it's about right. Assuming everybody's fit enough to play X amount of games this season, that's about right if he's wanting to go between a back four and a back three, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And then with Halkett, it's like you've seen the comments about why is he waited this long to be fit? It's like I think he's always been fit and looked after himself. It's just I think he's just paid or done more. It's like he's been doing enough, but just done more and paid extra attention to everything. So that's that. And it's good if it's taken away well for him to do that. But if that benefits Hearts, then perfect. And I've made my feelings clear that I think if everyone's fit, Halkett's certainly defensively first name on the team sheet. Craig, we will move to the centre midfield. A lot of players there. So looking at it, you've got Magnuson, question marks just around, don't know what his contract, going by what Hearts have been given out. I would imagine it would be 3 years, but I don't know for that for sure. You've got Benny and Cammy Devlin, who are out of contract at the end of next season, end of this season, sorry. Callum Ewenhoff, Oisin McEntee, Xander Khartoum, and I've put Blair Spittle in there. So Blair Spittle was amongst the wingers, and I have moved him in there just because I think we will see more of Spittle in the midfield, I assume.
It looks like when it's a midfield three, it's going to be one of Neuenhoff or Spittle or something like that, doesn't it?
Yes, so I think this leads on to a question I was going to ask you, or someone asked. Apologies if you've watched it and it was yourself that left the comment under a YouTube video we did a couple of maybe last week. You asked if you feel that we need a different type of midfielder, like a kind of more creative midfielder with kind of Magnuson coming in. But I would argue that Spill, that was him for Motherwell. That's the reason Hearts signed him, was what he did as a centre midfielder or a central attacking midfielder for Motherwell, and the goals he created, the goals he scored. So, yes, I accept that he's maybe he's not at the best pre-season or been at his very best during the League Cup games. But I do think there is a really useful player in there and someone who can contribute, like you said, Craig, if there's a need to go with if we're playing a back three, a midfield three, and you're looking for someone a wee bit more attack-minded or progressive in there.
And he can take a set piece. That was something else that Derek McInnes said fairly recently, that you want 2 right footers and 2 left-footed set piece takers or something like that. I'm not.
Yeah, he said. Yeah. No. He said that. He said that to me when I spoke to him about set pieces. Is that a better manager than Hib told him that you want 4 set piece takers?
And Spittle's one of them. And he's also beyond that contributed. He was one of Hearts' better players for points last season, and he has shown his worth already in the small amount of games that we've had so far this season. So we've got one comment here, William Stevenson saying Danda, Musa, Khartoum and Spittle I think will all go. I agreed up until Spittle. I honestly think he will stick about. I can understand where that's coming from. Similarly, Khartoum, Danda and Vargas says Drew Cowan. But yeah, I think it looks like Neuenhof's another one with the sort of if fit caveat, isn't he? But he has made a very good start under McInnes. Maybe one of the slightly surprising ones. I don't know if anybody went in thinking, oh yeah, he'll maybe be in the best 11 for the Aberdeen game, say. But it looked like, barring injury, he would probably be in the starting lineup to play Aberdeen. But in the absence of him, I would say it's going to be Blair Spittle.
Yeah, I agree. That's what that's my view as well. And Neuenhof has, I would say, been one of the surprises of the. Has been of the surprise of the summer, and then you've got that. So what I would say is that once Magnuson comes in, I think the midfield is set. Other than Khartoum is the most likely. I just don't know where he fits in. So that's a big thing. Whereas like Magnuson, very highly thought of in terms, and will provide actually, from what I've heard, will provide something different in the midfield and something that a bit more that what's required.
Yes. I think that I'm actually surprised when, as you kind of mentioned earlier, I thought when he was talking about another midfielder, I thought it was going to be somebody more creative. I can understand the reasons why not, but I am pleased to see that he's adding more physicality to that midfield. But it does mean there's going to be some good players that are not getting a lot of game time. So it will be interesting to see what happens between now and the window. I agree about Khartoum. I just can't see where he works himself in. I think, I don't know. I did kind of have an outside. There was an outside chance that he could maybe make a name for himself as a right wing back at times or something. But I think there's players that have come in and gone ahead of him there, even as an inverted or like as a winger playing out there. So I think it's just probably a matter of time before he moves on. But then, are we going to be talking about, with the likes of McEntee and Magnuson? Are we then just? I'm going to talk about this guy. So I'll just say William Stevenson also says get Devlin a new deal ASAP. But are we starting to look at like Benny or maybe Devlin, or players who's going to miss out? Basically, not all these players can play, especially if we're talking about Neuenhof or Spittle being one of the midfield three. If he's playing a midfield three, it looks like he always plays like with 2 Polish midfielders. But yeah, if it's like McEntee and McEntee and Devlin, and then I don't know, there's not a lot of space there for a lot of players.
Yeah, and I do think this is also a wee bit about preparing for the future, bringing these in, because you have to remember that Benny and Devlin are out of contract. I know a lot of fans would like them both being extended. Whether that happens or not, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if both were to move on next summer, just as this squad freshens up. I think Paul here says can't help but think Benny could be away this window. That's like, if you're looking to move players on and get money from, this is the ideal window for Benny to do that. Then Devlin as well, with his contract situation, is that it's Hearts might just be preparing for the future. Again, good options in there. Benny and Devlin, I think, have both done well, and they've in the League Cup and shown Derek McInnes that they'll be valuable members of the squad. But we've gone from them two being like the starting duo to now they've got real competition and guys who probably are a bit more fit more into what McInnes wants as a profile player in the centre of the pitch.
That's what I'm getting at. I mean, their stature just might work against them in certain matches or in certain occasions. So it's going to be, that's definitely an interesting part of the side to keep an eye on.
I've just been, Craig MC has just said 19 minutes have come and gone, Joe. It's 5:30, so I can discuss what Derek McInnes told us today.
Okay, I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah, so I will. I'll just bring up some quotes from McInnes.
Just while you do, I'll bring in one of the comments is related, which I accidentally flashed up on the screen earlier because I thought it said Khartoum. Feel sorry for Kabori, that says the Goalkeepers podcast, been here for about 2 weeks and still not announced yet. Must be frustrating for him. We were talking about this exact same thing earlier, Joe, and I was saying how this delay is meaning that he his preparation for the new season's disrupted, basically. I mean, every day that, or every week that passes, he's further behind in his preparation for the new season, and he's already moving to a new country and getting settled and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's not a very good situation for the guy.
No, it's not. So if you go on to heartstandard.co.uk, you'll be able to read McInnes's very thorough update on a variety of things, but he's talked about Landry Kabori. So basically he's talking about Hearts. We have done everything we can on Landry. That needs to be said. This is regarding his work permit. Hearts are just still waiting for it to be rubber stamped. We don't anticipate any issues with it. Why it's not been rubber stamped, I think it's just volume and time. So it's just Home Office working through stuff. Nothing to indicate that it's not going to be a problem. Equally, nothing to say when it's going to be. Hearts have done everything we can. We've been given every encouragement that there's no issue. It's just a volume thing. So again, it's just, there's nothing sinister that's going on. It's just a case of having to wait for the work permit to be rubber stamped. Derek McInnes wants both Kabori, or hopeful that Kabori and Magnussen will be registered for Monday against Aberdeen, so they could be in line to make their debuts against Aberdeen. Both, while both can't train, Magnussen is in Edinburgh, that both have been playing football this season up until now, because the Estonian and Icelandic leagues are currently ongoing, so they're not having to play catch up. Yes, Kabori's had a very frustrated couple of weeks, and McInnes talked about that, and they're trying to keep his spirits up. It's not quite the same feel good factor when you sign for a club just because he's had this wait, but both are in a position where they can come in and make an impact straight away. So again, you look ahead to Monday, and if both of them are signed, not only have you got that starter for the new season feel, you've got two guys potentially making their debut, and just the excitement that brings.
Yeah, exactly. And then, or maybe even like paraded or something like that. But there's already going to be an absolutely cracking atmosphere there on Monday. Just to kind of bring it back to what we're talking about, and before, as we move on from the midfielder, San Francisco Jambo quite rightly uses a US reference and says that the midfield looks like Walmart on Black Friday. It is packed. And yes, we hopefully it's just as aggressive as the Walmarts on Black Fridays can be as well.
Yeah, I mean, another thing that McInnes said to us today, and you can read this in the article, is that it was important that because the squad size didn't stop Hearts from doing what they needed to do with the recruitment. So I know a lot of people are concerned about the size of the squad, but it was important that Hearts were able to bring in players that made the necessary change that was required after last season. And he paid tribute to the board and the fact that a lot of clubs would have said, no, you need to get rid of X amount before you can bring in. McInnes has been allowed to bring in those players to suit his style of play. So that's why there's the squad size as it is. It's going to be a natural process. Players will go, but it was important that Hearts were in a good position that didn't impact them or negatively affect them going forward. With regards to like the development of the squad. So yeah, it's I'd rather the squad be too big than be too much like last season going into the start of the season, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, in terms of the midfield, they've got two guys here who fit Derek McInnes' profile that have arrived, and then you've got a variety where Benny and Devlin are excellent and know what it takes. Neuenhof's a great option, and then Spittle adds something different in the midfield. So at the moment, again, at midfield to me, it doesn't need to be touched. So we will move on to the wingers. I could have put, so there's been a wee bit of some players could fit in both, like Musa could go as a forward or a wide player. Vargas as well. I've shifted him from striker to wide player. Kabori I've put as a striker just because when he eventually gets announced, we'll put Tom's piece up in his video where he talks about it. He sees him more of a striker. So I've put Kabori there, but expect Kabori to play across the front line. But in terms of the wingers, we've got Saba Carjota, Kenneth Vargas, Musa Drama, Finlay Pollock, who's still out injured, Alexandros Kisaridis, Alan Forrest, and Jan Danda. This was an area where McInnes wanted to. It's probably the area that needed the most work to add pace and width and to provide the profile of player that McInnes wanted in terms of how he wants to play. It has been pretty good. The fact that managed to get two players in, well, three if you add Kabori into that, and then wrote about it. If something happens, if movement happens with Islam Chesnikov towards the end of the window and he came in, that would be a massive boost and that would just elevate it further. But again, at the moment, you're looking at it and there's more options and there's more width and there's more pace.
Lee Cruikshank asks, is Vargas going on loan to St Mirren? That's again another one that I haven't heard. And kind of relatedly, Elliot Kerr asks, where do you think Vargas fits in here with Kabori, Carjota, and hopefully Chesnikov too, as you've just mentioned, Joel? Is he likely to leave or go out on loan? I think it's looking, and I'm just saying this purely based on numbers, and going by the fact that Hearts did sign him to flip him at some point. I think if there is interest, he will leave this summer. And that's mainly based on just it being a numbers game. I mean, he's not going to get... it doesn't look like he's going to get a game up front ahead of Shanklin, Braga or Wilson. And the other place that you would look that he'd maybe play is the right wing, possibly left wing, but like just say for argument's sake, right wing is the only other real place that we've seen him play. McInnes has done nothing but try to sign players that can play there in Kabori, Carjota, and as we've said, Chesnikov. So yeah, I don't think there looks like, despite what was said just after McInnes took over, I don't think it's looking too bright for Vargas. But who knows? Who knows who could end up playing their way in at some point?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. If he's here, I think he might get used. I can see it has pace, directness, but I don't think he's quite the natural winger that McInnes likes. And then you look at the striker options. I think there's probably 5 players in front of him at the moment with the strikers. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he is not with Hearts at the end of the window. Again, it goes to interest. That's the one that Danda MLS and Vargas at Mirren that's been doing the rounds for a while. To me, that just doesn't feel right. It feels like it should be flipped, and Vargas should be the one that's going to go to MLS and Danda's going to St Mirren's. But I don't. Again, there's just, as we've talked about, there's so much, and it's been like the way for the whole summer. So much speculation and rumours going around, and I don't know anything concrete around those, but. You look at, I think, the 3 wide men at the moment, Kiaridis, Forrest, and Carjota are like 1, 2, and 3, or between them. Danda, just, I think he's liked and rated, but he'd be nothing more than a squad player at the moment, you have to think. McInnes doesn't really play with number 10.
He's another small player as well.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, that's one of the first things he said when he took over, size. And then Danda already on the fringes of the squad, you felt just dropped down even further then because, okay, even if he doesn't play with a number 10, sometimes you can find a place for a playmaker elsewhere. McInnes has done with these other teams. But you can't keep Devlin and Benny in the team, talk about increasing the size and keep Danda in there as well. It's just something has to give. So
they can play if Magnussen and McIntyre are in the midfield. That allows them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just if he was to stay, nothing more than a bit part player, I would say, and I would say that he would probably want to be more than that. And yeah, like Craig said, did McInnes not say try to sign Danda and Spittle for Kelly? He did, but I just think with the fact they're not playing with a number 10 and the wide options at the moment, I think Danda would be an option as a wide player, but not high up going by what we've seen so far. I think he had done really well in pre-season, but he was kind of hampered. He was ill. He's not available for the first 2 games in the league, and he had to go home early from pre-season due to his child being born. So it's probably has been a wee bit frustrating summer for Jan Danda. Musa, I'd be very surprised if he is at Hearts at the end of the transfer window. And then Finlay Pollock still coming back from injury, and he's viewed. I think McInnes likes him and likes what he's seen from him from last season, so there might be an opportunity for him. Strikers, finally, let's get to the strikers. We have got. It looks a hell of a lot better than it did 12 months ago. That's the thing you say straight away.
Should have got last season's graphic just to compare it. But yeah, you're right. We didn't really see it coming either, just how bad it would be. Probably, well, I know it wasn't as bad on paper as it turned out to be at the start of the season, but yes, it looks like that's another thing that was identified early, and they weren't going to make the same mistake 2 seasons in a row. The encouraging thing is that not only are goals being shared around more, was it 9 different scorers across the League Cup group stage? 16 goals, 9 different scorers, defenders, strikers, and then another 3 goals and 3 different goal scorers against Sunderland as well. In that game, 3 different goal scorers in that match. So, being shared around, and Lawrence Shankland, as we discussed recently, just seems to quietly be doing his business. And hopefully he's on the verge of another special season, because if Hearts are going to do anything, it's probably going to require both. It's probably going to require goals to be spread throughout the team, throughout the season, against bigger teams and not just against the League Cup teams. And it's going to require maybe not a 30-goal season, but something closer to something approaching that 20 or something along those lines for Hearts to do something this season, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I think the goals are going to be shared about these. McInnes has all talked about having 4 or 5 options. He talked today that Shankland was, in terms of the business, 9 players about set to be signed. Shankland's still not included in that, but if there was to say he was a 10th signing, he's been the most important one for McInnes, because he is that ready-made goal scorer, to use his words. And then the rest of the players can play with Shankland. That's the big thing, is that they complement Shankland, and you've got 5 options where you have Shankland. Bragg, I would imagine, start on Monday, but there's definitely a variety there. Bragg can play at feet, he can run the channels. Wilson can do is developing that side of things, but can offer a real goal threat and running behind. Kabori, he'll do a bit of everything. I think he'll be a chaos factor in attack. He's quick, he's physical. And then Kabangu, I've been a wee bit down on him this summer, but I still look at him. If you were bringing him off the bench against a tired defence, I think he could be a really effective player and still produce. And that's the thing, is like, I think the hope would be all these strikers score goals.
Hearts were doing it with Vargas last season. To good effect in a couple of games. One that springs to mind is a 6-0 against Dundee. I'm sure there was another game around that time when him and Alan Forrest were coming off the bench to replace the strikers towards the end of the game, and were stretching the defence. Vargas scored at Dens Park doing that. You look at who's going to be doing that now. Who's more likely to be coming off the bench when defences are tired? And I think Kabangu, is a huge upgrade on Vargas doing that. So I think that in itself just shows you how much more depth and how much stronger our Hearts are in that position going into the end of the season. Going into the start of this season, sorry.
Yeah, absolutely, and it makes you far more confident for the season. Just the options all over. Yeah, I think it's always going to be the case. There might be one or two areas where an injury or suspension, you're like, a wee bit short. But in a lot of key areas, like the spine of the team is looking good when everyone's fit. A lot of wide options. We've talked about it. Having that ability to change it off the bench is ideal. I think in the position, provided Kabori and Magnuson get signed, Hearts are in a position where if it's about moving players on. Someone asked about the size of the squad. Ideally, I would probably say 25, 26. That would be ideal. So
sort of related to that, Gorgie Boys podcast saying that matchday squad's usually around 20, so there's a large number. So there's going to be people missing out on matchday squads. That's not sustainable, and that was a theme throughout quite a lot of the comments. People asking like rumours of departures. We've already covered some about specific players. So
yeah, and I would imagine that 25 would be 26 would be ideal. So that means 6 or 7 leaving from this graphic, and then you're looking. So you can name 20 players in a squad in the league, but then you still want that wee depth because there's going to be injuries, there's going to be suspensions, etc. And then you include Pollock in that, and the third choice goalkeeper, so Ryan Fulton or Craig Gordon, at the moment in that, and it's 25, 26 is a really healthy amount. I think it's a really good depth, really good options. And then if you are able to move those players on, it might be able to do one or two things between now and the end of the window. But the good thing is you look at that graphic and there's not immediately something jumping out. It's like, oh, Hearts need to go and do this.
Yeah,
they're in a very, very healthy position going into the start of the season on Monday.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just to pick right back's the obvious example there. If Borgrevink's not fit enough, I'd be happy with Forrester starting, and I'd be happy with him tweaking the team to say, I don't know, go to a back four and Steinvender at right back instead, or whatever. Yeah. If the other ways he can work around it, I'd be confident that Hearts would put out a good starting 11. We'll go to some comments just about the strikers before we kind of maybe go to a couple of general ones. Is a really good point about Cabangu from Shield Campbell needs to learn to watch the line. Offside too much considering his pace. That is very true. I just hope that we saw both sides of Cabangu. We saw hit the ground running when he came in. Defences couldn't handle his pace. He linked really well with Shankland. And then I don't know, there were a lot of problems, not just Cabangu. So hopefully, I don't know, hopefully he can rediscover some of that form that he did have when he first joined. And Craig again says, I think Shanks and Braga will hit 15 plus goals each. Do you disagree with that, Joe? Hearts would have a very good season if that happened. We're talking about all competitions. We'll say he means all competitions. Because if he means the league, then we're winning it.
Shankland, I can definitely see hitting 20 plus, no doubt. Braga, if Braga gave Hearts 15 goals, that would be brilliant for his first season. He's already on three competitive goals. So he's made a good. Even if Braga can hit, so if you've got Shankland on 20 plus, and then you have got if Braga, Kabori, and then if there's 2 or 3 others that can hit double figures, and then you have to remember you've got like Kariota and Kierides who have track records of hitting double figures in league campaigns, that I do think you can spread the goals around a bit more, which is encouraging.
William Stevenson asks, has Musa played at all for us this pre-season? He did play in the closed doors game yesterday. What day is it? Is it Thursday? Yes, he played in the closed doors game yesterday against Dundee. It was a 2-2 draw. It was a game pretty much to play fringe players. It was used to play a lot of the players who haven't maybe got as many minutes as they would have liked in the League Cup. Is there anything else you want to do specifically, Joel, or will I go to a couple of the more generic comments?
I've just got a couple of comments as well that I was going to bring in, and on Musa, he played over in Spain as well against.
Of course, yeah.
Played them, but yeah. I was going to bring in a couple of other ones. Craig makes a good point here. The thing is with Celtic and Rangers, the reason we couldn't compete with their depth, but our depth is just as good now. Well, I'm not sure it goes that far as good as Celtic and Rangers. I think there's still a lot to be proven, but I would say on that is
maybe numbers wise,
but I think you're looking at that, and if that was a squad, that looks like a better squad to handle the European and domestic schedule, which is hopefully what will have to happen next season when hopefully Hearts qualify for Europe. Hide that. What was going to say? How do you think we'll do Monday night? Andrew Nisbet asks. We're going to preview that tomorrow. That's going to be a video tomorrow. Hopefully a shorter video tomorrow, talking about the Aberdeen game on Monday. And a couple of folk have asked about the season, but this is a good question from Scott Rennick. Super content again, boys. Thank you very much. What makes 25-26 a success? A trophy European competition? What's your take on that, Craig?
I think Hearts have to finish among the European places. I mean, I don't know. And I'd probably say fifth wouldn't be a failure, but I don't think it would be a success either. So I would say something, being in the fight for third. Let's word it like that. Being in the fight for third I don't think Hearts have to finish third, or McInnes has failed this season. And doing well in the cups. I mean, a success would be winning a cup. There's no doubt about that. But like, if you're talking about taking the first steps under Derek McInnes, then I think good showings in the cups and in the race for third. Because if they're not in the race for third with no European competition, then there's something's gone really wrong. So I don't know if you have any sort of movement on that, Joe.
I would, third is a success, because I think it's imperative that Hearts are in Europe every season from now on. And it's not just in the qualifications. And I know it's going to be difficult. I'm going to try and do something on that maybe later on to look at later on this month, to look at what Europe looks like from next season, because Scotland has lost that automatic group stage place that Hearts have benefited from the last two of the last kind of 4 seasons. So it's imperative for what Hearts want to do in terms of making progress, kind of selling players, building them up, etc., to be in Europe. And that was massive for Union Saint-Gilloise. They got into Europe, and they've ever since they got into the top flight, that's been massive for them. So yeah, third is a big success. It's fourth. Fourth, there's strong competition for Hearts to finish third, and because you have to take into account how big a movement this has been this summer, and also the fact that you have to remember Hearts were a bottom 6 side last season. But I just think with the manager, with the squad, that third should be the aim, and yeah, a cup would be incredible.
That's why
I do think. But to not, I would love to get into fan mode to James Govan, a treble or nothing. The fans expect nothing less. I would love to get into that, but I'm going to be realistic for once in my life with Hearts and say that just getting in third and just making sure that Hearts are in Europe next season is a success.
That's why I said a race for third, because I mean, if it was like a race for third against Kilmarnock or somebody like that, and they missed out, then yes, you could say that there's elements of failure there. I'm not just picking that because it's McInnes' old club. I'm more just meaning that size of club. But Aberdeen and Hibs, they're in Europe. For how long? Who knows? But they're in Europe, but they are arming up. So, I mean, they could be hindered by Europe. But at the same time, they're both arming up at the moment as well. So it could very well be that there's a strong battle for third if Hearts are in the mix. So if Hearts were to lose out to a better team of one of those, I wouldn't say it's a failure, as much as I'm sort of hesitant to say in any capacity that finishing behind Hibs isn't a failure.
Yeah, it would be. I don't know. I've just got it in my mind, just with the manager that's been appointed and the squad that's been put together, and the aim of the club and the ambition of the club, that not finishing third would be. I'd be disappointed. I'll be honest. I'll be disappointed.
Yeah, there would be elements of failure if they didn't, I'd say. Yeah, because as I said, the European stuff, especially if it was like Aberdeen, and Aberdeen have spent half the season in Europe, something that Hearts failed to cope with last season. They coped with it and then finished third ahead of Hearts. I think, yes, again, there'd be real disappointment there. Yes.
Right, before we finish up, because I want to watch a Dundee United game, because I'm very much reliant on them winning so I can go to both Oasis on Saturday at Midfield.
It's not happening now, Joe. It's not happening. I'm pretty sure.
Tannadice, and then it means that Hearts play Dundee United on Sunday at Tannadice on Sunday. But
and off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure that Scottish opposition has struggled against Luxembourgian opposition
very much so.
2 times. So Rangers went out to Progress Niederkorn, and I think the one before Aberdeen. That was Aberdeen Folaesh, and did they not lose in Luxembourg? So
they did.
Yeah.
So you can add Luxembourg to Malta and Derry teams from Romania as struggles. Scott Rennick, he makes a point. I think we need to target League Cup silverware. On that, there's two things about this. Hearts' record in the League Cup is embarrassing, and it's absolutely shameful, and it's something I really want Hearts to win. Secondly, doing so would be, in terms of just like that momentum and feeding into what Hearts are wanting to do, would be massive for mentality. So yeah, that is definitely something. And Danny Scott says, Hibs worry me. Their signings have been great. Danny, calm yourself. Calm. Don't think they've got I think they've got some really good players, but I don't think they've got nearly as good a squad as Hearts do at the moment. That'll no doubt, hopefully not come back and bite me. Before we finish up, I just wanted to say that William Stevens said, Joe, I want to thank you for sharing the charity game update. We raised £5,391.25. That is brilliant. Thank you for letting me know, William. I think I shared it a couple of weeks ago with the charity game for to raise money, and it's great that went so well and raised such money. And I also say that looking ahead to this Monday, I think there is I'll bring up the tweet just now so I can read it out. Sorry for not being prepared with this one. Is that I've retweeted it today.
It's about the Grant applause.
Yeah, Grant Stevenson. If you listen to Scarfs Around the Funnel, Mark Donaldson read out a letter from Grant Stevenson, and basically just says, "Hi guys, I'm looking to sort a minute's applause at the first game of the season. In the 62nd minute, in memory of my dad passing last week after his brave battle with cancer, any help would be massively appreciated." Grant went to games with his dad, and it was a really important thing. So he's keen to get that. So I've retweeted it. It's on. It's been retweeted quite a bit. So that's something that's going to be trying to happen on Monday night. But we will leave it there. We have talked plenty. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks very much, everyone, for your comments and watching and listening. Few articles will be going up tomorrow. Be sure to check out Heart Standard for the latest info from Derek McInnes, where he talks Kabori, Magnuson, outgoing squad size, and injury updates for the weekend. Borchgrevink, the main one, is fine and should be fit for Monday, so hopefully he'll be playing then. Until tomorrow, we preview the start of the league season. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Craig, and goodbye.